Hello, this is the fourth episode of the writing block. In the previous episode, we started looking at the scoring criteria, saw a sample answer written by our professors, and mentioned 3 attempted answers from real candidates for you to download to check out. In this episode, we will analyze the responses of the candidates. We have prepared a document with an analysis of the 3 texts, pointing out some errors and making comments. See the link in the description of this video. If you want to download the text before continuing to watch, it might make it easier to follow the comments. Remember that from July 30th, the format of this question has changed to writing for academic discussion. You will still write about your opinion, but the text is more aimed at contributing to a discussion, and you have to consider the opinion of 2 other people. Anyway, the answers are pretty similar, so we can use the examples we already have. At the end of this episode, we'll talk about the new format.
Now let's see what we can learn from the other candidates. Have a look. The first text is too short. We have to make an effort to write at least the 300 words that the examiners expect. The candidate used the preposition by instead of on or from and tried to describe a hypothetical situation, but did not use the appropriate words, used wrong tenses, made mistakes with plural and singular, and spelling mistakes. But he still managed to present his ideas. The second text is quite long, and candidates probably wouldn't be able to write that much if they observed the time limit. Anyway, we can learn a lot from this text. Errors start with inappropriate expressions. The first one can be removed, the second one needs to be replaced. Another mistake is that information in English does not have a plural form. Yet another preposition and article usage errors. Again, the inappropriate expression and one more, the number 5. Vocabulary and tense errors. Some words are used awkwardly, but the vocabulary level is quite high. The biggest lesson we can take from this text is probably the need to use expressions and vocabulary that we know well, to make sure we are using them properly. This text makes it clear that the author is influenced by their mother tongue, which seems to be Portuguese or Spanish. Hence the use of words that seem out of context and purpose. We have to keep in mind that examiners expect us to use language naturally. So, we need to learn natural expressions, not try to construct expressions or use words based on our knowledge of our mother tongue. The text presents sophisticated use of a considerable vocabulary and, despite the errors, demonstrates a reasonable knowledge of the language. The third text is probably the best of the 3. Despite having several errors, it demonstrates a more natural use of the language, with several sophisticated expressions, even with some repetition. The text alerts us to the need to pay attention and concentrate on the writing exercise when we take the exam, to avoid spelling errors due to inattention, writing words correctly in one paragraph and incorrectly in the next. The text has a number of words within the exam standard, which demonstrates a good level of preparation.
Let's now try to extract vocabulary and expressions to use in our own texts. Extremely important. Well-informed. Main discussions. For instance. Most certainly. One very good example. I realized. We can separate these expressions into 3 groups. Modifiers, which are adjectives and adverbs. Speech markers, words and phrases used to start sentences or paragraphs. And verbs. The use of modifiers demonstrates sophistication in the use of the language. Extremely. Well. Main. Most certainly. Extremely and most certainly are considered extreme and can be used for emphasis. Let's see other examples. Amazing. Ancient. Awful. Boiling. Delicious. Enormous. Excellent. Exhausted. Fascinating. Freezing. Gorgeous. Terrible. Terrifying. Tiny. Totally. Utterly. Absolutely. And completely. It is worth knowing adverbs that intensify and soften. For example, her comments were deeply offensive. Intensifier very extremely. Her comments were slightly offensive. Softener a little bit. Enhances. Highly. Used with unfairly, educated, recommended but not with appreciate, influence, interesting. Strongly influence, appreciate. Greatly appreciate, not with influence. Utterly absurd, ridiculous, but not sorry, busy, glad, lonely. Completely or totally or entirely different, dependent, separate. Thoroughly enjoy. Softeners. Slightly different. Slightly can be used with a wide range of adjectives. Mildly surprised. Mildly also collocates with amusing or amused, irritating, irritated, offensive. Loosely based on. Loosely also collocates with centered, structured, related, connected. Faintly ridiculous. Faintly also collocates with amused, surprised, patronizing, absurd. Fairly formal. Expressions with well and main are very useful and can improve the quality of your text. See these examples. Well before. Well after. Well below. Well above. Well behaved. Well spoken. Well done, etc. Main gate. Main industry. Main ingredient. Main cause. Speech markers. For instance. A very good example. This type of word or expression is also known as linking words. Remember that it can be more than one word, because it is used to link one idea to another, indicating the relationship between them. Among the most common are the following: addition, and also, besides, further, furthermore, to, moreover, in addition. Sequence or time. Next, afterward, finally, later, last, then, when, soon, subsequently. Order. First, second, etc., finally, hence, next, then, from here on, to begin with, last of all, after, before, as soon as. Example. For example, to illustrate, for instance, to be specific, such as, just as important, similarly, in the same way. Result. As a result, hence, so, accordingly, as a consequence, consequently, thus, since, therefore. Purpose. To this end, for this purpose, with this in mind, for this reasons. Comparison. Likewise, in the same manner, way, as so, similarly. Contrast. But. In contrast, conversely, however, still, nevertheless, nonetheless, yet, on the other hand, on the contrary, or, in spite of this, actually, in fact. Finalization. In summary, to sum up, briefly, in short, finally, on the whole, therefore, as I have said, in conclusion, as you can see.
And how is the new format of the independent question? The question of writing for academic discussion follows a well-defined pattern. You will read 3 short texts, around 80 words each. First, the professor's text introduces the subject, asks a question that admits 2 positions, like for or against, positive or negative, and asks you to write a post for the discussion obeying 2 criteria. Express and support your personal opinion, and contribute to the discussion in your own words. In fact, when you observe the first criterion, you are already meeting the second, unless you copy the material presented. Second, a text that presents a favorable opinion of the object of the question. Third, another text that presents an opinion contrary to the object of the question. Your job is to write at least 100 words giving your opinion, which you can agree with one of the texts, but you need to offer original arguments, reasons to agree. Want to see an example? Professor, a new story about artificial intelligence is in the news almost every day. And, of course, companies are spending a lot of money to develop new AI-related technologies. Before the next class, I want you to reflect on the following question. Is AI a dangerous technology that will generally harm society, or is it a powerful tool that will improve people's lives? Tegan, personally, I think AI is a threat. As AI advances, many jobs could become automated, putting people out of work. This will certainly increase income inequality. Davis, I disagree with Tegan. I am of the opinion that AI has the potential to solve many of the world's problems, from climate change to disease. Furthermore, AI can help us make better decisions by analyzing large amounts of data and identifying patterns that humans might miss. Be sure to watch the next episode of this block. We will discuss in detail how to structure an answer to the academic discussion question. Subscribe to the channel and watch this space.